This is a REDFM podcast.
Deputy Prime Minister ਅਤੇ Minister of Finance, Honourable Chrystia Freeland ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨਗੇ. Honourable Chrystia Freeland, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Good morning, Harjinder. It's very good to be with you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I must applaud you and the Prime Minister that has handled this magnitude of pandemic very efficiently. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for saying that. And let me just say, I think that the thanks should go to Canadians. I think that so many people are doing so much to help their friends, to help their neighbors, to help their family get through this. So many people who work in our hospitals, in our long-term care facilities, frontline workers, those are the people I am the most grateful to.
Can you tell us about the money that you will be spending this winter as well for the long-term COVID-19 recovery?
I would love to do that. And let me start, Harjinder, by talking a little bit about the support which is going to be available to Canadian businesses. Mm-hmm. Because I really believe that small businesses are the heart of our communities. They are the engine of our economy. And they are really the foundation of the Canadian middle class. And I know that it's really, really hard right now for so many small businesses. So here's what we're doing to help. We are raising the maximum wage subsidy level to 75%, and that will start on December 19th. We have also introduced, and I would really urge you, Harjinder, to be sure your listeners are aware of this, because I find when I talk to businesses, not all of them know this program is up and running. But we've introduced a rent subsidy program, and businesses, the first businesses who applied, will start getting their money this week. So if you're a small business and your revenues are lower than they were before the pandemic, please do apply for this support.
This is the program where you can apply directly without going through the landlord.
That is exactly right, Harjinder, and thank you for emphasizing that. Because the old program, you had to go through the landlord. This one is simplified. So you can apply directly. People will get support of up to 65% of their rent. It goes directly to the tenants. If you own your own building and you have mortgage interest to pay, that is also an expense that could be covered by this support. And if you are a business which is in lockdown because of a new public health order, that's the case for businesses in my community in Toronto. I know that's the case now for many businesses in Vancouver and across the country. You can get an additional 25% top-up. Mm-hmm. So businesses could get as much as 90% of their rent covered, and I think that will really help people get through a difficult winter.
Ms. Freeland, are you planning to tax the Netflix and Amazon Prime? Don't you think they will be passing on to the consumers?
So I'd like to talk about that, Harjinder, but can I mention one other thing for families that
Sure.
I think your listeners might be interested in? Since I am a mother with 3 children, I think a lot about families. And we know, anyone who has kids knows how hard this crisis has been for families. I think it's been really hard for our children, too. When I see my own little guys going to school with their masks, I'm really proud of them, but also my heart breaks for them. So what we are doing is having a one-off COVID increase to the Canada Child Benefit of up to $1,200 for each child under 6 for low and middle income families. So I really think that will also help families get through the hard winter. Now, when it comes to the internet, the current situation, as I know you know, Harjinder, is Canadian companies are subject to GST, HST taxes, but international companies who sell their services in Canada are not subject to those taxes. And I feel really strongly that that's not a fair situation for our Canadian businesses, for our Canadian entrepreneurs. So we are going to have a level playing field for all businesses that sell their goods and services online. And, you know, Harjinder, I think it's especially important for Canadian small businesses because they are really suffering in this crisis. And a lot of people are moving their purchases online. And so when small businesses do the hard, when Canadian small businesses do the hard work of moving to online platforms as well, and I know a lot of them are, I want them when they get there to have a level playing field and face exactly the same conditions as international businesses do.
And about the budget here, even if we don't have a budget thing, we are seeing that probably $381 billion deficit in coming March. And how do you plan to pay for that?
It's a really good question, Harjinder, and it's something that I am very focused on and I think about a lot. And I think the first and most important thing to say to your listeners, to say to Canadians, is yes, it's true that we are spending a lot of money right now to support people, to support jobs, and to support businesses. It is also true that we can afford to do this. And to give you just one demonstration of the affordability of what we're doing right now, let me point out something that might surprise some people. The debt interest charges that Canada is paying right now as a share of GDP, even this year as we are spending considerable amounts of money to support people through the COVID-19 pandemic, our debt interest charges are the lowest they have been in 100 years, Harjinder. Think about that. Lower than they have been for a century. And so that should be reassuring to Canadians. It is really a measure of the fact that the Government of Canada is in a position to provide this support which is so necessary to so many families, to so many small businesses.
How many COVID-19 vaccine doses we have purchased as Canadians? Are they enough?
Oh, Harjinder, they are definitely enough. We have purchased around 10 doses per Canadian. So you heard me right, around 10 doses per Canadian. Canada has the most extensive vaccine portfolio of any country in the world. And you don't have to just believe me. Go look at the Nature magazine website or the Financial Times or The Economist. A lot of places have published a table showing that Canada has the most vaccines per population of any country in the world. And that's a good thing because, what we've done is we understood, you have to remember, Harjinder, we were buying these vaccines. We started work on them in the spring and summer when people didn't know which vaccine was going to be successful and which one wasn't. So we got advice from our vaccine task force that's, composed of very smart people, eminent scientists. They advised the government on which vaccines were likely to succeed, and we did deals with 7 of them. So Canada is really, really well positioned. We're going to have plenty of vaccines, and we're also well positioned to take advantage of, all the different scientific paths that researchers have been exploring as they look for a vaccine that works.
The deal with the China went haywire, didn't mature?
That is not one of the vaccines that ended up in our portfolio. The ones that we have in our portfolio are really, really promising. 3 of them, Moderna, Pfizer, and AstraZeneca Oxford, have already published very promising results of clinical trials. And there are now 4 vaccines, all of which Canada has purchased. So that is Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson. These 4 are all submitting data as part of a rolling review to the Health Canada regulators. Now, that's a really good thing for a couple of reasons. One is it shows that the companies that manufacture these vaccines have a lot of confidence in Canada. They have confidence in our regulator. And, they are doing the work of submitting the data to us so that they can get the vaccines into Canada so that Canadians can begin to be vaccinated. So I see that as extremely promising. And it's important for Canadians to know that that's just 4 of the 7 vaccines that the Government of Canada has purchased. Because I agree with you, Harjinder. It is very important for us to get these vaccines, to be careful. Again, as a mother, it's really important for me that Canadian scientists review them carefully. As a mother and also actually as a daughter, I want to take care of my dad. It's important. I really do. It's really important for me that the vaccines be carefully reviewed, that we know that they're safe, and that is happening, and then they're going to be rolled out across the country. And for me, that brings a lot of hope. I think that it's going to be a hard winter. I think we all know that. We're all kind of buckling down for a hard winter. But what's different between now and how things were in the spring is this time round, we know that the pandemic is going to come to an end. The end is in sight. This is finite. Canada has 10 vaccines for every Canadian, and we are going to deploy those across the country. And so, just a little bit longer, and we're going to get through this.
Any one of these vaccines will be available in December?
As I said, Harjinder, I think the really important issue right now, we've bought the vaccines. 4 regulators, 4 of the manufacturers have submitted the data to the Canadian Health Canada regulators. It's a new rolling review process that we've set up so things can go faster than they normally do, because I think all Canadians know how urgent this is. But I don't think any of us want our scientists or our regulators to be cutting corners when it comes to something as crucial as a vaccine. So the real next step right now, we've taken the first step. We bought the vaccines. Step number 2 is the rolling regulatory review is ongoing right now of 4 vaccines. I trust our regulators. I know that they are smart, hardworking, independent, totally ethical, and they are doing their job right now. And once those vaccines get approved, we will be able to deploy them across the country. And, one other thing that I think it's worth all of us remembering when it comes to the vaccine rollout is we're so lucky to have a healthcare system, a national healthcare system that works. We have a healthcare system that routinely, every year, vaccinates millions of Canadians. So, the part of this that is novel is these are new vaccines, and we need to be sure that they are approved, that they meet the Canadian gold standard. But once we get those approvals, then we're going to be in a more familiar process, the rollout of these vaccines across the country, and I have a lot of confidence in it. And I think, knowing that the vaccines are coming should give us the hope that we need to get through a hard winter. And I just want to say one more thing about that, Harjinder, if you will allow me, which is we have a plan, which I announced on Monday, to help the Canadian economy come roaring back from the coronavirus recession. We know that even once the pandemic has come to an end, we're going to have some work to do because our economy has been wounded. As of today, we've recovered 80% of the jobs we lost in the depth of the pandemic, but there are still about 640,000 Canadians who had a job before the virus hit who don't have a job today. To me, that is totally unacceptable. And so our government announced on Monday we are putting in place a plan for growth and jobs that is going to really, really be focused on getting all those Canadians back to work and on helping our economy grow and be stronger than ever.
Deputy Prime Minister, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate this. We'll be talking to you again.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate the good questions.
Thank you.
And I didn't understand your introduction, but I could hear you say Deputy Prime Minister Freeland, so I knew you were talking about me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another Red FM podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe and check out our Red FM Canada YouTube channel. For further info, log on to our Red FM social media platforms or visit redfm.ca.